And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wags in Culver City.
CP writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com with an article that quotes Marty Adams, the former head of LADWP for 30 years, saying that having the Santa Ynez Reservoir online wouldn't have completely saved the day, but it definitely would have helped fight the Palisades fire.
And certainly transparency between DWP and the fire department wouldn't have hurt either. The fact that the fire department was unaware of the fact that the reservoir was empty tells you what kind of communication was going on between the departments, particularly since they were warned about the winds a week ahead of time. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. All right, let's go back to Gavin Newsom with Fox 11's Alex Michelson.
It was only a matter of moments, but it was finally time for Alex to ask Gavin the subject he wants to talk about more than anything, the letter that he sent to Donald Trump saying, hey, you want to come look at the fires?
I was the pool reporter with you back in 2018 after the Woolsey fire when you came and visited with President Trump and then Governor Brown. I know you just put out a letter asking...
Presidents only come to California for two things, to tour fire destruction or to get money.
And it used to be more for the money.
I know you just put out a letter asking President-elect Trump to come here. What's your main message to him?
I'd like the President of the United States, at least the President-elect, to come and visit. The people out here, his lives have been completely torn apart. I want him to visit and understand the magnitude of this scope, what happened to the American people that happen to reside here in California. And it's with an open hand, not a closed fist. And I'm not interested.
Boy, he loves his yoga terms.
He really does. How long until we get the African proverb?
Hand, not a closed fist, and I'm not interested in...
Is it an open hand or a closed fist with the special session that's going on instead of talking about the wildfires in Sacramento?
Oh, that's definitely a closed fist.
And politicizing an event like this. I don't like the banality of it. I don't...
Wait, Gavin doesn't like politicizing this?
Oh, no. He's trying to extract all of the politics out of this, and has ever since he blamed Donald Trump for it.
And politicizing an event like this. I don't like the banality of it. I don't like the inhumanity of that. I would like people to focus on a collaboration between the executive in Washington, D.C. and in the state of California to help rebuild a community that's been completely ravaged.
We know we've seen some public back and forth, but have you two talked about this?
No.
Well, I guess in theory, Joe Biden is still the president. So if you're going to go to the president and ask for certain things until January the 20th, that's still Grampy Joe.
And have you reached out to him?
I just reached out today, specifically. Correct.
And he's not returning your call?
I just reached out to the President of the United States. We invited him to come here. I worked very well, as you know. You made that point as it relates to the Woolsey fire and the Camp Fire when we first met, ironically.
We get along great.
By the way, let's go back to that video that we saw in the Pacific Palisades where the woman was confronting him and he claimed that he was on the phone with Joe Biden. And then when she pressed him and said, put it on speaker so I can talk to him too, it was, well, I'm trying to get a hold of Joe Biden. Apparently no one will take his calls.
It's Gavin again. Let it go to voicemail.
We worked very well during COVID. And so that's my intent.
Don't remind us of that.
That was a bad time.
And so that's my intention, has been from day one.
Apparently Ferrera was at one of the pressers over the weekend. I don't even want to know what she has to say about this.
Was she wearing a white lab coat?
And so that's my intention, has been from day one. We've said 100 times, open hand, not a closed fist.
You just said that 100 times in this interview.
He really likes that phrase.
100 times, open hand, not a closed fist. We're also not naive. And I think we have all the...
I think we're going for a closed fist right now.
We're also not naive. And I think we have all the evidence in the world that bears fruit to the notion that we're not naive to prepare for a different reality, a radically different reality compared to what we just experienced in the last few days. Mm-hmm. You had a major disaster declaration that was done within 36 hours of this fire, which is extraordinary and unprecedented. You had 100% commitment on reimbursement for folks. You got a president that's just today is trying to figure out loose ends as it relates to significant work we do on infrastructure and parks.
He's not being political here, is he?
Not even slightly.
Parks and playgrounds and schools, and that will be an announcement we hope we can make in a matter of hours. I'm not interested in the theater of political consternation. That's what he's interested in. And I think it's pretty shameful, personally, but it shouldn't extend beyond this. I want to turn the page. I think everyone does.
John, has Gavin Newsom ever looked in the mirror?
It's so strange to me that he's spending all of his time lobbing all of these political attacks on Donald Trump, and certainly is being extremely coy and political with his questions regarding Karen Bass's performance. Yet every time he launches an attack or every time he tries to get cute, he then says he's not making it political. Who does he think he's fooling?
I want to turn the page. I think everyone does.
And just to be clear, when you're talking about a president, now you're talking about President Biden, because we're going back and forth between the two presidents.
I'm talking about the current president of the United States that's done everything right without asking.
The current president of the United States has done everything right.
Yeah, the voters don't see it that way.
Without asking for anything in return, without leverage anything.
Didn't Gavin just say he didn't want to make this political?
He's a strange guy because he's been relatively successful in politics. City councilman, mayor, lieutenant governor, potential presidential candidate. Yet he doesn't think much of the voters. He doesn't think much of the people. Because to anyone who's paying attention, it's obvious what he's doing. And he does this all the time. Would get upset with people when they'd ask him if he was running for president or going to run for president against Grampy Joe in the Democratic primary. But he loved it. He loved being talked about as a potential candidate. And now he's making this as overtly political as possible because he wants to frame this as a blue versus red, R versus D, conservative versus liberal, because he thinks that helps him positioning himself as the anti-Trump in the Democratic primary. Well, fine, you can do that if you think it helps you politically. But by doing that, you're not doing the job that you're supposed to do as being governor of California during a crisis.
Without leverage anything, with decency and respect to the people here in this community and to the American people, and I think in the spirit of this country.
And just lastly on that, I know President Biden is trying to set this up where we get funding for the next 6 months. Are you concerned that President-elect Trump may try to stop that?
Well, you should be. We all should be.
Open hand, right? Not a closed fist?
Well, you get slapped with an open hand, don't you?
It passed his prologue. So let's do everything in our power to avoid that. I mean, it's the idea that you had to ask that question, and I'm giving you a straight answer, and the answer is we should be concerned. It's obvious to anyone. So that's why we want to come out here. Do the right thing. I just want to move on. This is an emergency. We can do all this dance, and we have differences of opinion as it relates to all kinds of issues and values, and that's fair game, and that's important. That dialectic's important. But having this kind of friction when it comes to emergency response with emergency responders, these heroes, 12,000 that are on the front lines right now, taking care of people, making sure people are still alive. We're still doing emergency maintenance, evacuation. We're still concerned about flare-ups and spotting. You got kids right now that don't have money for baby formula, and we're trying to get them disaster assistance. You have folks in hotel rooms that have money only for tonight and don't know what's going to happen, haven't even had a chance to see their homes here, it's standing, or it's here and it's not standing. We want to get them emergency assistance over the course of the next 18 months. That's why I was with the FEMA director today, and that's what the President of the United States and I are talking about, and I'd like to have that conversation with the next President of the United States in a couple of weeks, and not have this back and forth that's rather childish from my perspective.
Okay, going back to our conversation with Barbara Stone, Donald Trump should cut all the funding. Because you cannot trust these people one iota. They mismanage everything they're given, and they spend it on political purposes. The only thing he cares about is what will benefit him nationally, politically. So when he spends the disaster relief dollars, that's how he's going to spend it. However he thinks will make him look better, or whatever he has to do to impress different interest groups or campaign contributors or whatever the case may be, that's what he's going to do. So if you're Donald Trump, no blank checks. Do not give these people any money. You can help out the victims, help them out directly, make sure the money gets to them, but no way in the world would I trust that Gavin Newsom will do the right thing with that money. No way. And there's nothing he's done to demonstrate that he would use that money in a fair and honest way. Nothing.
Finally, Alex asked Gavin what his message is to Californians, especially ones that lost everything this week.
Any bottom line message to the people of California tonight?
Well, we care deeply about them. We have their back, and we're going to continue to come back until this is completely rebuilt. And I know it's rote and cliched, and even saying it's rote and cliched, but we will be built back better and stronger. And I'll give you testament to that.
Will we?
According to him.
But we will be built back better and stronger. And I'll give you testament to that. I mean, up in Paradise right now, you have insurers coming back into the market. The kids are back in school. It hasn't been completely rebuilt.
You know what else is going on in Paradise? Victims of that fire are still waiting for their payout.
And didn't you bail out PG&E, which was the company that was found criminally responsible for burning them alive?
Yes, and then crafted a deal where fire victims were paid in PG&E stock instead of cash.
And wasn't the PG&E lobbyist the same guy that had his birthday party at the French Laundry when he showed up when all of the other restaurants were shut down and he dined with his buddies without a mask?
Why, yes. Yes, it is.
The kids are back in school. It hasn't been completely rebuilt, but you wouldn't even recognize the progress that's been made. The houses are stronger. They're more resilient. There were lessons learned. They've been rebuilt differently. We were able to fast track a lot of that development, address the anxiety around property taxes, anxieties that people had in the short run about even paying their income taxes, backfilling the property tax loss to the school district. All those things we're working on right now with the legislature through executive orders. We know how to do this, and so it's about accountability, transparency.
I mean, Gavin is an expert on dealing with wildfires. The state has burned down several times since he became governor.
Over and over and over again. And sometimes the fires are even started by his campaign contributors.
We know how to do this, and so it's about accountability, transparency. That's what the letter is as it relates to DWP, what happened with the local water and the pumps. Just set it straight. Just let us know what happened. Is it just overwhelming the system? A lot of people think it's just that. Was it the pumps? Was it the pipes? Was it some other?
You should talk to that guy from Rancho Santa Margarita.
Get the word out, buddy.
Push this out to the nation, kid.
There's something else that happened, and let's get to the bottom of that. Let's turn the page as it relates to the new incoming president. We'd like him to have the spirit of the current president and have the backs of people so we can recover. And this wonderfully iconic American city could come back as a tentpole of this state and the tentpole of this country.
Governor Newsom, thank you so much for the time.
So there you go. There was the 10 minutes that Alex Michelson got with Gavin Newsom on Friday that aired on The Issue Is on Fox 11 and KTVU Fox 2.
Meanwhile, instead of worrying about what to do to prevent the next fire, the California State Legislature is meeting in a special session to figure out how to Trump-proof California and how to allocate enough dollars for nuisance lawsuits against the federal government and for third-party organizations to represent illegal aliens if the Trump administration tries to deport them. KCRA's Ashley Zavala went to the Capitol and asked them if this is a good idea given the fact that the state's on fire. And, Randy, there were fireworks.
Here is KCRA 3.
All those fires are still burning out of control right now. State lawmakers today starting their special legislative session to prepare for the incoming President Donald Trump.
They've got their priorities straight.
They know what's important.
KCRA 3's Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala was there to press lawmakers on whether now is the right time for this.
Well, here at the state capitol, California lawmakers had their first session since those fires started in Los Angeles. And with all of the damage piling up and with a lot of questions about the ripple effects that could have on the rest of the state, the state assembly prioritized a separate special legislative session to help California prepare for Donald Trump.
Good morning, members.
Despite several empty seats in the chamber because of the LA wildfires, the Democratic State Assembly gaveled into its special legislative session to prepare for incoming President Donald Trump.
I'd ask that you keep in mind
Governor Newsom called the special session shortly after the election as
to get a big flashy headline.
That's right. And no one up there had the sense to cancel it after the fire started.
As fires raged in Southern California, state lawmakers still prioritized their anti-Trump work. They established a committee and set a hearing for the legislation that sets aside $25 million to prepare.
This whole thing is to give Bonta a big fat check so he can spend all of his time getting national attention for suing the incoming federal government.
Yes. This is money that's intended to make Bonta a household name so he could run for governor.
To prepare for legal battles with the incoming administration.
I'm here to address this.
Democratic Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas didn't want to talk about it afterward. He would not answer my question. Is this the right time?
This is a historic wildfire. This is a historic.
If it's a historic wildfire, how come you're not doing something on that?
Yeah, usually when you have a stunt like this, it's intended to generate publicity. But he's smart enough to know that he doesn't want this kind of publicity, but Gavin wants him to do it, so they have to follow through. He's caught between a rock and a hard place.
This is a historic event. These wildfires, as I mentioned, are going to be quite possibly some of the worst wildfires and disasters in state and natural history.
While this wildfire is happening, and while people are trying to understand what's going on and are worried about disaster relief, worried about the ability to get homeowners insurance, your chamber gavelled into a special legislative session to prepare for Donald Trump in a way that you are already able to do without a special legislative session. So, again...
Yes, this is all performative. It means nothing.
Yes, but they thought this would be a dead time. There's nothing really going on between Thanksgiving and the inauguration of Donald Trump, so they might as well produce a stunt that gets them publicity that'll give them juice with their benefactors.
Again, is now the right time for that?
So certainly our focus right now is Speaker Ashley. At this moment, my colleagues and I, we are acting with great urgency to ensure that we're providing much-needed relief to Angelenos, to ensure that...
No, you're not.
No, you're up there trying to get booked on MSNBC. That's what this is about.
That we understand what it's going to take for this region to recover.
Republicans are now calling for a special legislative session on wildfires.
We should actually end the special session we have right now and have a new special session completely focused on wildfire and insurance, because I think everybody rightfully anticipates this is going to cause a huge crisis.
Speaker Rivas was asked.
Not in 2 years since this insurance crisis started, has there ever been talk of a special session on the insurance? It was all, Ricardo Lara's got this, don't you worry. And now it's way too little, way too late. Fair Plan's about to go bankrupt.
That's right. And now they don't want any fingerprints on any of that at all.
Speaker Rivas was asked if he would support a wildfire-related special session.
I've had zero some conversations. It's the first I've heard of it. Obviously, that is a call for the governor to make.
So we checked in with the governor.
Gavin only really uses the special session to make flashy headlines, like the 2 times he called one to go after big oil that amounted to nothing.
Yes, if he calls a special session about the insurance crisis and the fires, then he's going to have to make some decisions that he's not going to want to have to make.
So we checked in with the governor. His spokesman said in a statement, quote, "The governor is focused on protecting people, not playing politics."
Oh, God. So he doesn't want to deal with the insurance crisis or the fires because that's playing politics, but he does want to create a special session to sue Donald Trump for everything under the sun, a man who's not even president yet.
And making sure firefighters have all the resources they need. The first hearing for that Trump-related special legislative session is now set for Tuesday morning. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
There you go, Johnny.
All of this going on while Rome burns. Literally. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222 if you want to weigh in on any of this. If you want to weigh in, give us a call at 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. Let's begin with Ted in San Clemente. Ted, hello.
Hey, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was involved in, Randy, you can Google this on the YouTube, the Agora fire, in evaluating the structures, 22 locations. Evidently, a bum started a fire up by the 134, and it ripped down Topanga Canyon. You probably remember this, John. Went all the way to the ocean. The last house I looked at was Neil Young's that burned up. Anyway, this has gone on in those canyons forever. So that the guy that called giving us the math lesson, you can build more reservoirs. The problem is what the state has been doing. Gavin Newsom blew up like 4 dams up on the Klamath River. These guys do not want to save water. The environmentalists keep stopping them. And the other thing is that that I did want to say for the people, if anybody's listening that lost their homes, I was evaluating the structural foundation, and that concrete, if it's still there, is almost always good. So one thing to save money on is to save the money on the grading and the foundation is get your engineer and your architect to take a look at it and then redesign and use the same foundation. And then get LA's Building and Safety, which is a complete cesspool, to buy off on it. Now, that's another problem. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up and see you guys.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Ruth in Malibu. Ruth, hello.
Hello. I just wanted to give you a little information that about the pumps that were offline. Well, it turns out that some of my friends that work for DWP, they said that the pumps were propane powered, and there has been a rush to go to fossil fuels. Now, my husband is an electrical engineer, internationally famous. He's real smart. That's why I married him. He said that the pumps could be switched to solar, but the incompetency here is with critical infrastructure, you need to maintain constant power. You calculate the power need, you set up the solar if you want solar, but you have backup generators because solar is intermittent. So that's kind of a hot thing that maybe that information needs to be questioned. I don't know whether Mr. Crazy Newsom will find that in his investigation. The other thing, you were talking about infrastructure. I have 40 acres in Malibu. We bought the property in 2002. It took us 8 years to get through planning. You got to have a lot of cash. You have to have personal biologists. You have geologists. You have test pits to do. We had to pay for an archaeologist to walk the property. The process is so muddled down in insane red tape that after 8 years of the battle, we finally got to build. Now, we are all solar, and it all works. We had to fight the county to get 200 feet of brush clearance. We are in extreme high fire. And right now we're fine. We have 18,000 gallons of water above ground for firefighting and our own fire hydrant. That's the infrastructure that we had to have in extreme high fire. So my heart goes out to Pacific Palisades because we've got houses that are 5 feet off the property line. And if your neighbor has a bad vent in their attic that maybe keeps out rodents but doesn't keep out embers, which is a simple process. You just put extra screen over that, and you might have a little help. But the whole system is wacky and crazy and long and involved. And I think also we have to get back to seeing what the DWP did concerning those pumps.
Well, it's totally outrageous that it took you 8 years to be able to put a house up on property that you already owned and be able to move in. I can't imagine how frustrating and costly that entire process must have been for you and your family. However, think about this. That was you building your dream home on a piece of property when you had someplace else to live, clothes to wear, a toothbrush to use. Can you imagine going through that process after going through the trauma of having a home burning down? It just makes me totally overwhelmed just thinking about it.
I have been crying for days because I know what lies ahead. You have to be involved in your own construction. You have to watch it. You have to do your calculations. You have to get people that trust you. But it is maddening that Title 24, which is a power energy saving in California, which actually we tried to fight because they wanted to do, they made us do an air exchange that's constantly on in your attic and the outdoors. And we told them we're in high fire. Something like that is just ridiculous. They made us do it anyway. So, of course, after the building inspector left and we were finished after 10 years, we shut the whole thing down. But there's a lot of craziness, right down to septic systems and water pumps. But we're here. But, you know, here in Malibu, we have one statement is, hey, baby boy, we got to get out of here.
Thank you for the call.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Randy, please remind John to correct callers like the last one. It's not Topanga, as we know from Rob Bonta. It's Topanga.
In Topanga.
We stand corrected. Well, even though the focus on everything local and national is on the fires right now, that doesn't mean the criminals have given it a rest. So, Randy, let's open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And, Randy, this edition of the Blotter takes us to the postman, kind of.
A man who owns a mailbox store in Toluca Lake was busted for being part of a international meth ring. For more on the shocked neighbors, here's KCAL.
And new tonight and only on KCAL News, a Toluca Lake business owner, once called a cornerstone of the community by the local chamber, is accused of being part of a massive crystal meth distribution operation. KCAL News reporter Tom Waite is live in Toluca Lake now to explain. And Tom, people there are in disbelief over these charges, right?
Pat, they're in shock that there's money to be made in meth?
I thought in the mail you only made money off the penny saver.
Pat, that's absolutely right. When I spoke to people outside of the shop, this is the shop right here behind me, people thought I was joking. They did not believe that these charges could possibly be real. But yeah, this is the shop, this mailbox shop, where police say a massive meth distribution operation was being centered out of. Mailbox Toluca Lake is a staple in the neighborhood here on Riverside Drive. It's frequented by actors and people who work in the entertainment business. Its owner, Jonathan Kramer, was even called a cornerstone of the community by the Toluca Lake Chamber in a 2023 Instagram post.
Well, something tells me they did not do their research.
Well, they don't even know the half of it.
You know, I love Toluca Lake. The people in Toluca Lake all support the town and the community. And, you know, we all take care of each other, and it's like one big family.
But police say the nondescript mom-and-pop shop was doing a lot more than providing secure mailboxes.
You think a place that just sells mailboxes can make and afford rent in Toluca Lake?
Whenever mom from mom and pop at the mailbox store says she's got to go powder her nose, Takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
And herbal remedies for actors. Police say mailbox Toluca.
Wait, they sell mailboxes and herbal remedies?
Well, I guess if you want to get creative, you could call it herbal.
Is this one of those stores? Sometimes you drive by a strip mall and they have about 17 different signs for what the business actually is. Mailboxes, ID, photos, water. We do it all.
Ahmed's Donuts and Insurance.
And herbal remedies for actors. Police say Mailbox Toluca Lake was at the center of a massive crystal meth distribution operation between L.A. and Nashville, Tennessee.
This is not a joke.
No.
I'm stunned.
By the way, as always with these stories, this was discovered in Nashville, not here.
Well, I wonder which country and western band is going to split up because of them.
This is not a joke.
No.
I'm stunned. He's a charming man. Everybody that works there is very charming.
Local.
You can be charming and still sell meth.
Well, he's in sales. He's got to be charming.
Local and state investigators in Tennessee say the drug bust connected to Mailbox Toluca Lake was the biggest in Nashville history. A total of 5,000 pounds of meth was seized. Nashville investigators say they were first alerted by FedEx in late 2022 about suspicious packages being sent from Mailbox Toluca Lake.
Wait, they used FedEx? What?
I thought they were based out of Memphis.
John, as we have covered extensively, it is very easy to transport meth using the airlines. Just go to LAX, check your bag. They won't check what's inside it, and you can bring all the meth you want to Nashville. Who's using FedEx?
Apparently, they don't want their boxes damaged.
If that meth absolutely has to be there overnight.
Or it's free.
More than 260 pounds of crystal meth was initially seized. Detectives say more shipments were sent from Mailbox Toluca Lake as they...
This sounds like somebody got a little too big for their britches. They sent a small package, maybe buried in some coffee grounds, and they didn't get caught. So they went larger and larger. You sent 26 pounds of meth in one package?
Yeah, you shouldn't consume the product either.
As they tracked the suspects.
We believe that members of this drug operation use addresses of unsuspecting local residents to which parcels would be shipped and then quickly retrieved right.
So they'd ship it to your address, and then before you even got there, the porch pirate knew it was meth, and they'd take the meth. But that's how they got caught.
What are you going to do? Unsuspecting mom and pop involved in meth. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for another live and local edition of The John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.